A very good morning and welcome to Good Morning Uganda Extra here on UBC TV, and yes, we do inspire Uganda. Thank you so much for always being a part of the show. It's just 8 minutes past 9 a.m. A very, very good morning once again. My name is Sharon Chondisha, and in studio with me is a guest from Uganda Development Bank Limited. Very informed and very up there, or very straight up on what they want to do with job creation. I'll introduce that a little bit. And now Uganda constitutes of 70% youth who tend to struggle with unemployment, and at 4.33% in the year 2022. COVID-19 exacerbated the issue by putting people out of work and even making the numbers go so high. But now we were asking, and people have been asking, what has the government done about it? And of course, it has different arms. But today in studio, we are joined by a representative from the Uganda Development Bank Limited, the country's only national development finance institution, who will be briefing us about the bank's efforts towards job creation and what the bank has done to make sure that they combat, or they help out actually on creating jobs for Ugandans so that those numbers go down. A very good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sharon.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
It was raining in the morning. Did you, I think at around 4 hours awake, and it was starting out. Yeah.
Yeah, it was raining, but we have to work, so we drove in it. I actually came here from office. I had been there earlier.
Interesting. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, good morning, Sharon. Good morning, dear viewers. I'm Dr. Francis Mwesige. I'm a chief economist at Uganda Development Bank. I'm also director for economic research and knowledge management at the bank. I'm here today to speak about Q3 report, development impact report, but also year-to-date performance in as far as job creation is concerned, in as far as support to different sectors of the economy is concerned. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to be here at UBC.
Thank you for coming through. Now, just tell us actually a little about UNDB.
Speaking about Uganda Development Bank, our key and main mandate is to drive socio-economic transformation in Uganda. We are a DFI, a development finance institution. We are a national, maybe to emphasize that, a government DFI, or government development finance institution. We support a number of sectors, to be specific, 6 of them broadly. These are primary agriculture, these are manufacturing, agro-processing, infrastructure, and human capital and tourism. With human capital, we have education and health within that, and then we also do support the tourism sector.
Okay.
Yeah.
You talked about Q3. What does that mean? Yeah,
Q3, we do support as a DFI. We have a number of interventions out there, and these are financial and non-financial. The financial include debt, which are loans, and equity. Equity is where we co-invest with the private sector. We also have non-financial, which include business advisory. It includes project preparation. We call it project preparation because many people do businesses, but they don't know how to prepare concepts. For example, if you want funding or you want to design a business idea, the stages you go through. So in our development impact report, we track the performance of our businesses along the different dimensions of the support that we do provide. And we release quarterly reports to say that for the projects, we have projects, I mean businesses here. For the businesses or the loans we have approved this quarter, these are the jobs they are going to create. We have what we call core indicators. They are key indicators that we look at, which include employment, which include profitability.
Employment in terms of the business must be able to employ other people, or employment in which way?
Yes, it's basically the employment these businesses will create.
Okay.
And these can be direct and indirect jobs. Yes. But for the quarterly reports, we mainly look at the direct jobs. So when we even speak of the employment figures here, these are direct jobs. But we know that when you support a business, there are many other indirect jobs that are created. So we look at those. We have forex earnings and savings. We have taxes that are generated. You know, the government has been, we have that drive to generate more taxes, to be able to fund our budget priorities as a country. So the DI, or what we call Development Impact Report, it reports the bank's performance in all these indicators that I've just discussed for the funded or supported businesses. Yes.
You talked about Q3, but then, so was there a Q2 and Q1, and when were those?
Yes, so for this year we have reports, we reported for Q1, Q2.
How long is
now
a
it's
quarter?
Q3, a quarter is 3 months. So here when I speak of Q3, basically speaking of July, August and September. Maybe to also make it clear, and thanks for asking, here we at the bank we follow the calendar year, not the fiscal year. Because essentially I would be speaking of Q1 if I was going by the financial year. But what I'm speaking to here is basically the calendar year, and Q3 means July, August, September of 2022. And like I've said, as a bank, and the reason we are reporting these numbers, it's because the country has suffered this for the past about 3 years now. And I'm saying 3 years, most people would talk of 2 years with COVID, but for us as a country, we had, even before COVID, we had other shocks, like you heard of locusts invasion in 2019. We have had COVID, and then we have had floods. This year we had a very long, prolonged drought, which really devastated different parts of the country. And as we know, inflation has been rising. Yesterday, I was listening to UBOS. It has now risen from 10% to 10.7. That is the consumer price index. And if you look at the breakdown of that inflation, the big part of it is food inflation. And for us, yes, we have had the geopolitical tensions, Russia, Ukraine, COVID, but the drought has really been disastrous. And they have really fed into this high and increasing inflation that we see, which definitely has significant effects on food security, on poverty, and many others. So what we do as a bank, we look at the effect of these multiple shocks, design interventions that are tailored to cushion the private sector against these potential effects. And in this quarter alone, we approved loans. Don't want to use projects because it confuses. We approved loans to about 201 businesses.
Is that a big number, usually?
That's a big number. Actually, to 72, but since January, it's 201 projects.
So for the 3 quarters.
But if you look at monies, it's actually quite big monies. So we are for only this quarter alone that I'm speaking to, it's about 333 billion Uganda shillings that has been approved to be given out to businesses. And from January, we have approved about 800 billion Uganda shillings, again, to go out there to push on and support businesses, recover, and all that. So with what has been happening, and when you have such kinds of interventions, one, we want to speak or discuss those results, to encourage even other businesses that have not exploited these opportunities to come to the bank and be supported, but also to help the viewers know that there are interventions out there that can actually support and help push on our economy from the many shocks, including the Ebola that we are currently facing.
Yes. So you, as UDB, you decided to focus on agriculture because of what is happening?
Yes, agriculture. And why agriculture? If you look at, for example, the structure of our economy, you know, from economic side, the economy is divided broadly into 3 sectors. It's agriculture, industry, and services. Now, if you look at our economy as Uganda, agriculture, in terms of contribution to GDP, it's relatively small. We're talking about 22%. But if you look at employment, it employs majority, almost 3/4. So it employs 68% of the population.
How is that a possibility? that it contributes a very small portion to the GDP, but then in employment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, and that's where the dilemma is, because that speaks to productivity in agriculture. It speaks to the value of what we produce in that sector, because you see the contribution to GDP, it is the value of what you produce that goes into that computation. So if you produce for consumption, as you know, there were statistics in 2014 census that indicated that 68 of Uganda, of those in agriculture, are operating at subsistence level. But even recently, in 2020, Uganda Bureau of Statistics released a report that showed that 39% of the population is under subsistence economy. Now, subsistence economy basically means it's hand to mouth. You're not into any other form of commercial or other form of investment.
Even the president has actually advised for us to move from
exactly.
that, yeah.
Now, because of that, agriculture still remains a key sector. But let's leave alone agriculture and look at the other. I've broadly talked of the three sectors of the economy: industry and services. If you look at industry and zoom in, actually 70% of industry is agro-based. So yes, you have agriculture contributing less, employing majority, but when you go to industry, 70% of industry, or even slightly more, might be using slightly old statistics, is agri-based. So that means you're still talking about agriculture. If you got services...
In what sense?
Because if it's agri-based, it means, I'll give an example. If you're into beverages, like fruit processing, if you're into hides and skins, their raw materials are coming from agriculture.
Yes.
So everything that affects agriculture and primary production essentially affects this.
Okay.
And in that, they have their terminologies. You hear of capacity utilization and installed capacity of these processing plants. You can have a 10 metric ton processing plant, but the utilization is less than 50%. Now, what affects that utilization is the accessibility of raw materials. And so agriculture feeds into our industry. Even when you talk of services, a lot of it is related to agriculture. So we are still...
Just like an ecosystem.
It's an ecosystem.
Yes, one leads, one helps the other and the other.
Exactly. Okay. So that ecosystem means that you have to support. And for job creation, if you hear the talk around it, it is structure transformation. That you have to release these many people in agriculture into other sectors which are more productive but also more rewarding and create better and decent jobs. How do you do that? You have to enhance production and productivity at agriculture level. And now that comes back to our interventions and why we prioritize agriculture. So you'll find that 80% of Q3 disbursement, rather approvals, the loans that we approved, are going into primary agriculture, agro-processing and manufacturing. But actually, if you look at the monies, I've talked of 333 billion that was approved in Q3, you find about 310, that's more than 90%, is going to these three sectors: primary agriculture, agro-processing and manufacturing. And it's for a reason that we've discussed, but also if you look at NDP3 and you look at the programs, you have a full program around agro-industrialization, supporting value chains, commodity-based and area-based approaches. All these, again, linked to, basically informed by the same discussion we have had, same concerns that you have to transform the agriculture sector. And that's why we have that focus. Primary agriculture alone was, we approved 83 billion in Q3. And out of the 72 projects, we have 24 that are into primary agriculture. So you still see that, that focus. Manufacturing took about 180 billion. And agro-processing 49 billion. In only Q3, I'm not speaking of the whole year. Yeah.
Would we say that, I know you have a vision, you have a mission as UDB.
Yes.
But it looks like COVID-19 awakened so many companies, so many banks, so many people to sort of think about now, how do you help the economy, the after effects. So how do you help the economy get back onto its feet? Would you say that maybe are all these changes and all these things being cushioned by the fact that you sat down as UDB and thought about how to make people's lives better? Is this period different from 2019?
Yeah, I think for us as UDB, there was a bit of coincidence, I would say, because in 2019, I'll be speaking more about our strategic plan. We reviewed our strategic plan. For a number of reasons. One was to align it to the government planning cycle. Because we are government DFI, like I have indicated, but also we support government initiatives and programs. So we realize if you have NDP running for 5 years and the planning was 2019, started implementation in 2020, we need to rework our strategic plan to speak to that. So we had that realignment. But two, it was to support the programs that are stipulated in NDP 3. So that's why we reworked it. Now, with all that I've talked about, we had planned for them in 2019 when we were reviewing. And then COVID hit, these other multiple shocks came in, but they sort of found us prepared because we had planned and we had looked at, in our NDP, in our strategic plan, we had looked at primary agriculture and agro-processing as key areas of focus. We came up with what we call high impact goals. I'll be speaking to those. And these are basically around poverty reduction, promoting sustainable industrialization, and promoting sustainable food systems. And food systems, you'd be speaking of the whole value chain, entire value chains, agri-based. Now, when COVID hit, it was more, like you've said, we had to really implement and push it because we had even a bigger mandate.
Yes,
and if you remember around that time, we also got more capitalization from government, which again enhanced our capacity to reach out to more businesses. In 2020, this year, 2022, we launched a special intervention that we dubbed special programs. Special programs intervention is mainly focusing on SMEs, youth and women. And the reason we came up with that special intervention, like many other financial institutions, you realize that smallholders, small businesses are not able to access financing for a number of factors.
When we talk about small businesses, which ones
Yes.
are we talking about? Because there are businesses that have as low as 5 million annual turnover.
Yes.
Yes, when we talk about SMEs and the ones that you're supporting and helping to even create jobs out there, which ones are we talking about?
Yeah, SMEs, if you go by Uganda Investment Authority's definition, they are categorized based on two, I don't want to call them variables, but what they consider. So one is the size, the number of employees, and the other one is total assets / annual turnover. So if you go by assets or turnover, we have micro, small, medium enterprises. We also have large ones. So for small business, micro businesses are those with less than 10 million Uganda shillings in asset value or annual turnover. Small are those between, if you talk of monies, it would be between 10 to 100 million asset value or assets or annual turnover. And then medium would be 100 million Uganda shillings to 360 million Uganda shillings.
That's medium.
That's medium.
Oh, wow.
Now, but if we look at the size, because different institutions use different indicators interchangeably because they are all used to define. In terms of size, you're looking at less than 5 employees for micro businesses. And then you're looking at 5 to 50 employees for small businesses. And then you're looking at 50 to 100 for medium, and then beyond that, we consider them large businesses. So when I say for UDB, we support SMEs from small, not micro.
Micro, yes.
So I just also wanted this to be clear to viewers out there that UDB supports small, medium and large enterprises. But that special program, that special intervention was coined and was developed to target the small ones and medium who have hitherto found it hard to access loans from institutions like UDB. Yeah, and that's what the special program is about here.
One of the, I think, when we're still working out of COVID-19 and the after effects, but one of the things that you'd hear from businessmen and so many people was the fact that they were choking on loans. And then, oh my God, the interest rates have gone up and all this stuff. Is that the same thing with UDB, given that you're a government entity and you're meant to help drive economic development in the country?
Yeah, UDB's situation is slightly different. But that's really not to say that the pandemic has not had a toll on what we do as a bank. But where we come, we are different. And being a DFI is...
I think you're going to have to keep on reminding people what DFI is.
A development financial institution. Being a development finance institution, One, our target was to aid recovery. And the government capitalized us more and supported us to even further that mandate. We charge an interest rate that is like half market rate. We charge 10 to 12%. Our interest rates are capped at 12%.
You can't go past that? No,
we can't go past that. Now, that helps because it makes funding and credit affordable to many in the private sector and many of our investors. But too, when COVID hit, we definitely had to sit back as a bank and look at potential tweaks we could have in our products and services to aid recovery. We have had a number of restructures whereby you sit with the business and say, look, you had taken this loan, but by the look of things and due to the effect of the pandemic, it seems you cannot pay. Then we agree on another plan. We restructure. Basically, that's what we call restructuring. You extend, you say now for these 2 years, we give you this period as a grace, that you can start paying after this. So there are a number of discussions that really happened. And also we started looking out for more support. For example, we have a tourism grant. We partnered with European Union. They put in money, and we started what we call blending our loans. That instead of only giving you money in form of the loan, but also I attach on it a grant to help you recover. And that has really supported and helped the tourism sector in specific, where we are partnering with EU. So there's been a real number of interventions. And like I've said, special programs started this year. And again, that was developed to help businesses because they were real struggling during 2021 and 2022 in the aftermath of the first 2 waves of COVID, which they devastated this country. So as a bank, I would say the pandemic has affected us because you've talked of an ecosystem. This world is intertwined.
Yes.
It's one ecosystem that whatever affects other businesses, other financial institutions, in a way affects us. Because when businesses struggle with the loans they are servicing elsewhere, they run to us, but they come highly indebted and struggling, and you have to cushion them. So in a way, it affects you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think on that very note, thank you so much for the information. We'll take a short commercial break and we'll be back. We're still talking about UDB's role in driving Uganda's economic development. How are they helping to create jobs and make sure that they're helping with recovering, the economy?
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
The Ministry of Health informs the public that there are confirmed cases of Ebola in Uganda. We, however, urge the public not to panic as the situation is being managed. The Ministry of Health further reminds the public to be on the lookout for any persons who may show signs and symptoms of Ebola. These include high body temperature, abdominal pains, diarrhea, vomiting, bleeding from the body openings such as the nose, eyes, and mouth. Please inform the nearest health worker immediately if you see anyone with these signs and symptoms. To prevent Ebola from spreading further, please take the following preventive measures: regular washing of hands with water and soap, avoid handshaking and hugging, avoiding any contact with any suspected Ebola patients. Any person who dies suddenly should not be buried but reported to the nearest health worker or LC1 immediately. For further information, please call the Ministry of Health toll-free number on 0800 100-066 or send a free SMS to your report on 8500. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and World Health Organization.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Oli musiru.
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera. Refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
We bring you a fresh, well-researched program to help you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation.
We have a product that is ready for schools, supermarkets.
Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Every week, we showcase opportunities for creating new products and services.
I now harvest a lot of cocoa. When I harvest it, I sell. After selling, I put money in my project. I have 2 projects. 1 is for construction of my house, 2 is for educating my children.
Excellence in innovation, the passion and drive to succeed, and the right mindset to grow your business. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Brought to you by Operation Wealth Creation.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
You're still watching Good Morning Uganda Extra with me, Sharon Chondisha. And now we're still as well talking about job creation, one of those things that is happening because UDB is helping out and is playing a role in aiding Uganda's economic recovery in a period after COVID-19 and many people suffering from the aftermath of what the pandemic did. I think we'll just, highlight again a few challenges that how the bank has actually been able to address the challenges that bar access to credit for SMEs in Uganda. Then we can move on from that.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. I think where we stopped, we were talking about different challenges faced by SMEs. Maybe a few that I really didn't speak to. Yes, it was limited access to credit, but it was others in line with preparedness. Because when we talk about access to credit, you have to be prepared to access loans and support from either UDB and other commercial banks. And a number of SMEs are not. You have to have, say, books of accounts to say, if we want to see how your business is performing, for us to evaluate and appraise you. I find many do not keep those books of accounts. A number of them have governance issues. A number of them do not even know how to write concepts and prepare.
Do commercial banks ask for the same things as well?
Yes, they do. Because you see, to support, when when someone applies for money, you have to assess whether their businesses are feasible economically, if feasible. For us, we even look at the development impact bit of it, the likelihood to create jobs and do all that. You can only do that appraisal and assessment if you have information. Now, many businesses do not have that. So as a bank, in addition to that special programs that supports them, we have non-financial interventions. One of them is business advisory. This is where we go and train these businesses on how to manage their businesses, keep books of accounts, management issues, governance, and all that. We also do project preparation. We have a full unit, and also on business advisory, we have a full unit that does that at the bank. And on the side of financing, we do debt and equity. Debt is loans, basically, and equity is when you co-invest. They bring money, you also put in theirs, you handhold them. After 10 years, you divest or you pull out of their businesses when you feel they've peaked. Through just debt, in this quarter, we approved about 7.1 billion going to SMEs under that program alone, leave alone the mainstream lending that I've talked about. And that brings a total of about 20.2 billion from January to date, to end of September. And that goes again to support SMEs and small businesses. So basically that's how we really go out to support these businesses, help them recover, and also make them prepared to conduct business. You know, many business people, the way we treat businesses aren't like businesses. I've seen many in agriculture, and now there is this buzzword of agriculture as a business, meaning that there are people who look at agriculture not as a business. There are also people who run their businesses as though they are not businesses. It's more of, you know, going to work, whatever comes out.
Yeah.
So you don't think about governance, you don't think about bookkeeping, you don't, if many people do not know the profits or losses they do make in businesses. Yes. It just runs until it either collapses or, so as a bank, we really look into those and come up with a number of interventions to support these businesses prosper.
It sounds very rosy when you talk about UDB and what you people are doing for the people out there. But then, does that translate into how many people are also coming to you for loans? Because I'm thinking, then why would I choose a commercial bank over UDB that is going to be a bit more lenient and have the same understanding, but even with a smaller or a subsidized half interest? Yeah.
On whether it translates into many people coming to us, yes. If you look at just our trends in the past 5 years, it's overwhelming. Great performance. I'll just compare this year and last year. So this year alone...
with last year? But last year we barely had business.
Yeah, barely businesses, but there were many businesses that we did support and lots of money that we did disburse. But this year alone, we are planning, which actually I think we've already hit, to disburse 612 billion Uganda shillings to businesses. But that is like a 40% increase from last year. But if you go to like 3 years back, it was about 242 billion, which was approved. Now just look in 2 years, moving from 242 billion to 612 billion. So it means the business says that we do support, the clientele is increasing, and we again have more, because I've talked about those that we do disburse, we give out, but there are those you've approved that are, we call it pipeline, they're still in the pipeline, awaiting for disbursement and final approval. So these ones are more than $1 trillion. So, and this number has been increasing over time. And I would say for us now at the bank, all we could ask for is more funding from government and other maybe development partners. But with more funding, Ugandans do appreciate the bank, but also they know it's one of the institutions they can go to and get cheap or affordable capital that is patient, because that's another thing we don't normally talk about. But the patience of the money that you give to businesses helps them to make money and be able to pay back. So we have loans that go up to maximum of 15 years, and that's a long tenure. So it helps a business to, than 2 or 3 years that when you start working, now you have to pay back the loan and you start struggling. We give grace periods on the monies that we give, depending on what you're doing, that goes up to 3 years. So all these are mechanisms to help businesses grow and prosper in whatever they do.
Some of the good things that are happening, but can you tell us more about the bank's business performance? I know you've mentioned here and there, but
yeah. The development impact, that is more on the development impact, and maybe what it is. Before I speak to how we are performing on that front, I would want to start to describe what it is, because every now and again we come to speak about our performance, development impact, and like where I started from, our main goal and mandate really is not profitability or that. Or yes, you want to sustainably grow, but for us it is the development impact that you do have, the socio-economic impact that you have on Ugandans. And that's what we measure ourselves on. What we do when a business comes up to ask for or request for a loan from the bank, we first of all capture what we call baseline information. Now that baseline information, it's basically the status of that business as of when it comes to the bank. We have a number of indicators. One of them is how many people are employing, what is your output value, what are your profits, What about the forex earnings if you're exporting, or savings if you're into import substitution sort of activities, and so forth, taxes definitely, and many others. So we capture that information. Now we sit with you and say, if we give you money, in the number of years you'll be with us, how many more jobs will you create? And we work it out with you, because some can exaggerate. So work it out, and we create what we call ex ante. These are like projected jobs, projected output value, and so forth. We capture that. Now, every year, we go back. It's actually around this time in November, our teams will be dispatched to go to the field, mainly the monitoring and evaluation department, to go to the field and follow up on the same businesses. Now, here we capture information regarding your performance to compare to your baseline when you came to the bank, but also vis-a-vis what you projected that you will create. So you told us you'll create 50 jobs. As of now, how many jobs? How many of those are permanent? How many of those are temporary? How many of those are men, women? How many of those are youth? How much are you paying them? Because we also compute the number of employees that are earning above the poverty line. Because that's basically that's the mandate, that's the intention.
Yes.
It's not only to create jobs, but you want sustainably, but also decent jobs.
Yes.
You want to
Definitely.
alleviate poverty.
Yes.
You want someone to earn money above that poverty threshold. And so those are the things that we look at. And all these are reported in our DI reports. So we do monthly reports. Monthly reports, largely we talk about the promises, the projected values, and the baselines. But every year, in our annual report, we have what we call development impact reports, which look at now exports that I talked about. These are the actual numbers that you have created. And that goes on. And again, this is basically for accountability. You want to report to Ugandans and say, look, for what we are doing, this is what is coming out. But also, these are our plans. We also come up with targets, because every year we set targets of how many jobs we want to create, how much we want to invest in. In our strategic plan, we set targets. And we have to keep tracking how far we are in as far as those
Doesn't that
targets.
transfer the pressure to the people who come for the loans, and you're talking to and helping project and helping plan?
No, actually, Sharon, it doesn't transfer the pressure to those who apply. Rather, it transfers the pressure to us, because we are accountable. We have to perform. And you see, if we say jobs, it also helps us to support those businesses, create meaningful jobs.
Yes.
Because now they start, where we started from. They start looking at whatever they do as a real business, and not just an activity that I'm involved in. And basically, that's how we see transformation happening.
We usually, there's usually like, not special treatment per se, but there's usually like a special sort of handling when it comes to women and the youth and the business. Do you have something like that for your bank as well?
Oh, yes. The special programs that I talked about, I know we really focused on SMEs, but it has a component of women and youth. And we have real more friendly terms for these, as far as accessing the loan, the amounts they can get, but also on repayment and all that. But also the non-financial interventions, the business advisor and others that I've talked about, they have a special focus on those segments, mainly youth and women. So we do.
Business advisory, meaning, am I supposed to, is it something that I can get only if I'm applying for a loan with UDB, or it's?
No, it's this is a service we really provide free of charge. I would say
to anyone?
Yes, to anyone.
Oh, wow.
Even preparation. These are services you don't pay for. I'll tell you, for the past 3 months, we have had it massive with our teams traversing the entire country, training different farmer groups of business groups and all that. And we are entering now even a bigger phase from early next year. So these are services that we do provide to Ugandans. They are free of charge, a number of these. Yeah.
Okay. Any last remarks or something you feel like we need to understand better with UDB?
Yeah, thank you, Sharon, and maybe to really thank UBC for the opportunity to get to share to viewers out there, to Ugandans, about what the bank is doing, but more so what we can offer. And my real parting remarks are, let Ugandans come to the bank. Don't fear that maybe you don't have books of account or of accounts. you don't have clear financials.
But that clearly
you're not
puts me in
prepared.
the red zone, or it puts me in a place to sort of not apply, not qualify, right?
No, it doesn't. That's why we are saying if you don't, in quotes again, qualify, then we take you through. We support you. That's what other units, the non-financial interventions, do help with. That when you come in and you're not prepared, you don't have financials, we have units that can sit you down and take you through these and hold you until you're ready to get the funding. So and that's why I really emphasize that businesses out there shouldn't fear that they are not prepared. Maybe we've gone somewhere, we've been bounced, but here's an opportunity that you can come and be handheld and trained and supported, and then you'll be funded and supported. So this is, again, being a national development financial institution, we work for Ugandans. We support government agenda. We support NDP3, highly aligned. We support budget processes. And therefore would want to do as much as possible to reach out to Ugandans, to support them with all these interventions that I've talked about. So really, it is to invite Ugandans to come to Uganda Development Bank and benefit from these many interventions.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think I've also gotten to learn more things today about UDB. And one day when I need an SME loan or something, I'm sure now I know where to go. And with half interest, I think that's one of the things that for me is very interesting, that for you charge half interest. Well, we're going with it. Regulated by Bank of Uganda to have a certain interest. For UDB, it's just right 12%. There. Yes, 12%, and that's it. That's the highest and the lowest, right?
We can also go down 10 because, like I said, there is a band, but yes, we could go with 12, which is the maximum, the cap.
Can maybe someone find where is the bank? How can we get in touch?
Yes. One, we have a website, we have a number of social media platforms, Twitter, LinkedIn, for those that can use those platforms. Yes. But again, those who can't and would like to visit us physically, we are Trenzol Towers, Wing B, first floor, Wing B, Trenzol Towers. Okay. So you can come and ask for UDB. You'll definitely be directed as long as you're at Trenzol Towers.
Thank you so much. Now make sure you utilize the chance and the interventions that have been put in place for the economy to just step back into its place and even do so much better. But also to the men and women and the youth that need a supporting hand, UDB is here for you. My name is Sharon Chondresha. Thank you so much for watching Good Morning Uganda Extra, and have a good morning. Bye-bye.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.